wind came howling down from the hills that morning, dragging dust and snow across the half-built cabin. The boards creaked in protest, and the nails shivered under the weight of the storm. Yet she stood there, small frame, worn gloves, a hammer clutched tight, swinging steady. Every strike echoed like defiance. Her name was Clara May Hart. Folks in town whispered about her, said she'd lost her mind trying to build a home out here alone. "A woman can't build a cabin in wolf country," they'd muttered. "Ain't no man gonna help her after what happened to her husband." But Clara never listened to gossip. She listened to the sound of her hammer, the thud of logs falling into place, the whisper of her late husband's voice in her head saying, "Keep building, Clara. Don't ever stop." The land was rough, black pines, frostbitten earth, and loneliness stretching farther than the horizon. Still, it was all she had left. Her husband, Jed, had been killed last winter by a runaway horse, leaving her with nothing but a claim deed and a dream they'd started together. She'd made up her mind she'd finish what he began, alone, if she had to. But that night, the wolves came closer. The moon was a white ghost above the mountains when she heard the first growl, low, hungry, close. She grabbed the shotgun, heart pounding like a blacksmith's hammer. Her fire crackled weakly, barely lighting the half-built walls. The beasts circled outside, their eyes blowing through the cracks between the logs. Clara held her breath and whispered, "Don't you come for me tonight." A gunshot split the silence. Not hers. The wolves scattered into the darkness, yelping. Then footsteps, slow, crunching over snow. She cocked her gun, aimed toward the sound. "Show yourself." Out of the trees came a tall figure, broad-shouldered, wrapped in a long duster, hat brim dripping snow. His face was mostly hidden, but the way he carried himself said he'd seen too many winters, too many graves. "Easy," he said in a low, steady voice. "Ain't here to rob you, ma'am. I don't need your help," she snapped, though her hands trembled. He stepped into the glow of her firelight. His eyes, cold steel gray, met hers. He didn't smile, didn't frown, just looked, long enough for her to see something buried deep behind that silence. "Seems you got more wolves than neighbors," he said. "I manage." He glanced at the scattered tools, the half-stacked logs, the blistered hands. "That's so." She didn't answer. He dropped a small burlap bag at her feet. Inside were 3 rabbits, cleanly shot and skinned. "For supper," he said, turning back toward the woods. "Wait, who are you?" "Just a rancher," he said, without looking back. "Land west of here," and then he disappeared into the storm. For 3 days she didn't see him. But she saw the signs, boot tracks near her well, chopped firewood stacked by her door, a fresh snare set near the creek. Each time, she told herself she didn't need it, didn't need him. But when the wind cut so cold her fingers went numb, she whispered, "Whoever you are, thank you." On the 4th day, she found him again, or rather, he found her. She was wrestling with a log beam too heavy for one person. It slipped from her grasp, crashing into the mud. She fell with it, shoulder screaming in pain. "Damn it," she cried, slamming the ground with her fist. Then came that same low voice behind her. "You're gonna break yourself before that cabin's done." She turned, breath clouding in the cold air. "I told you, I don't need a savior." He stepped closer, gloved hands at his sides. "Didn't say I was." Silence stretched between them, only the sound of wind in her ragged breathing. Then he spoke again, slower this time, almost like a challenge. "Need a partner." Her hammer froze midair. "What did you say?" He tilted his head toward the unfinished walls. "You're building something worth finishing, and you ain't got enough hands. I ain't got enough peace. Figure maybe we trade." She studied him, his worn boots, the dust on his coat, the sadness that clung to him like shadow. "You're offering to help me build, offering to work beside you. That's all." After a long pause, she nodded once. "All right, but I pay you, with meals, not promises." "Fair enough." And just like that, he set down his rifle and picked up a hammer. Days passed into weeks. He didn't talk much, and she didn't ask questions. But she learned his name, Elias Crow. Rancher, widow, lone wolf, same as her. They built through snow and sun, sweat and silence. Some nights he'd chop wood until the stars burned bright above, and she'd watch from the cabin window, his figure like a ghost working against the night. Once, she asked, "Why help me?" He'd paused, leaning on his axe. My wife used to say a man's worth is in what he helps build, not what he owns. Been trying to find that worth again. The answer lodged in her heart like a splinter. Bit by bit, the cabin rose. Logs fit tighter, roof sealed, windows framed. The place began to look less like a memory and more like a home. But good things don't come easy in the West. One morning, as the sun burned through the mist, riders appeared from the south, 3 men with hard faces and greed in their eyes. Clara saw them first, tightening her grip on the rifle. Elias stepped beside her, hand brushing the gun from her shaking fingers. "Let me handle it," he said quietly. The men rode up, spitting dust. The one in front, thin, mean, with a scar down his cheek, tipped his hat. Well, ain't this the Hart claim? Heard the husband's dead, that mean the land's free for taking." Clara's jaw tightened. "This land's deeded in my name." The man sneered. "Ain't worth much, sweetheart. You can't defend it." Elias took one step forward. "You'd be surprised what she can do." Scarface looked him up and down. "Who the hell are you?" "Her partner," Elias said, voice calm as a hanging rope tightening. The men laughed. "Partner, huh? You think you can scare us off?" Elias's eyes went cold. "No, I know I can." What happened next was quicker than lightning. Elias drew his gun, not to kill, but to make a sound that sent fear crawling down their spines. One shot into the dirt between their horses' hooves, and all 3 riders jerked back, curses flying. "Next time you ride this way," Elias said, "bring flowers." Not threats. They rode off, spitting and swearing. Clara looked at him, heart pounding. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did." She swallowed hard. "They'll be back. Then we'll be ready." That night, the fire burned low. Clara couldn't sleep. She sat near the window, watching the moon slide across the sky. Elias was outside, leaning against the post he'd just set that morning. He looked tired, like a man carrying a weight he'd never dropped. She opened the door softly. "You should rest." He glanced at her. "Can't sleep much these days." She stepped closer. "Your wife, what happened?" He didn't answer for a while. Then, "She died waiting on me. I was out chasing cattle during a storm. She got sick. By the time I came back, she was gone." The pain in his voice was quiet, but sharp enough to cut through the night. Clara whispered, "I'm sorry." He nodded once. "Don't be. Just, don't let this place die like that. Finish it." She looked at him then, really looked, and something shifted between them. Not words, not promises, just the quiet knowing that they'd both lost everything once and were still trying to rebuild. Spring came. The cabin stood tall now, roof shingled, chimney smoking, porch sturdy beneath the rising sun. Clara hammered the last nail and stepped back, breathing deep. "It's done." Elias smiled, a small, rare thing that softened every scar on his face. "You did it." She'd turned toward him. "We did it." He looked down, then back up, eyes blending with something she hadn't seen before. "Clara, I was thinking. That word, partner, maybe we should keep it." Her breath caught. "Keep it." He took a step closer. Not just for the cabin, for life. The world went still, only the wind through the pines and the thump of her heart. She whispered, "Elias, are you asking what I think you're asking?" He smiled faintly. "Yes, I am." Tears welled in her eyes, surprising her. "You really think 2 broken people can start again?" He reached for her hand, rough fingers warm against hers. "Broken pieces fit tighter when they're built right." She laughed softly, a sound she hadn't made in a long, long time. The sun rose behind them, spilling gold light over the cabin walls, over the land they'd both fought to hold. Elias took off his hat, pressed it to his chest, and said the words that sealed it all. "Guess we're home now, Clara." And when the wind came again, it didn't sound lonely anymore. It sounded like 2 hammers striking wood, building, still building, one log at a time.